morning. Is legacy only something that we leave behind? Or can we live our legacy right now, every day? Do we need to wait to get old or retire to build our legacy? Or can we start creating it right away? So this was year 2006-2007 when I was branch manager of HDFC Bank in Ahmedabad, the youngest branch manager in the country at the age of 25-26. My customers wondered and often asked me as to why I had chosen to take up so many responsibilities when it was time for me to have fun and enjoy life. My reply to them was always the same. This was what I enjoyed doing. The very next year, I got married, and like all married Indian wives, dutifully followed my husband to Germany, leaving my career behind. From a hectic, active life of 100 phone calls a day, I moved into a passive, boring life of hardly one call a day. But in order to keep my spirit strong, I enthusiastically joined German language school. I enjoyed learning the new language so much and so learned it so fast that I cleared the master's level in just 6 months with 98.9%. So what to do next? Again, there was a vacuum. So I started learning salsa and belly dancing. We also traveled a lot to every little nook and corner of Europe. What an amazing life, one may say. No work, no pressures, no deadlines. Just fun every single day. The fact is, just fun is no fun. I realized in that 1 year that my self-actualization need, as per Maslow's hierarchy of needs, was not getting fulfilled. Self-actualization is the need or the desire to become the most that one can be. This need propelled me to come back and pick up my career again, this time with Kotak Mahindra Bank. And from then on, there was no looking back. I also at the same time initiated my PhD studies in the field of financial inclusion. During my research, I met a number of urban, poor, and rural men and women. Their unawareness and illiteracy about money matters shocked me. No wonder they were so prone to exploitation by moneylenders and other selfish interest groups. Especially the plight of women was the worst. Their troubles drove me to do something for their betterment and upliftment, thus triggering my financial literacy drive for women, children, and the needy. The seed for service was sown in me very early on by my mother, who is a social activist with Lions Clubs International. I worked as president of Leo Club under her guidance during my college days, actively working for community and youth development activities. That experience came in handy now. They say, the 2 greatest days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out what your purpose is. I found my life purpose. And with that, I took the first step towards creating my legacy. Winston Churchill once said, "You make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give.
I started my career in the 80s in Mumbai as a clerk in a custom house agency. For all the movie buffs here, the bureaucrat that you saw in the movies, the pompousness, the arrogance, the I can do no wrong, I am privileged, it is your job to keep me privileged, is what I saw. One afternoon, a very senior officer, very uncouth, and somebody with a lot of distaste for me said, "Go and get me a cup of coffee." I didn't know what was happening, but I knew one thing, that I am not going to get the coffee. Shaking within me, I went and I told him, "I will not get you the coffee." The look on his face, I still remember. He signaled me to sit down, ordered 2 coffees, gestured to me to have my coffee, and for what seemed an eternity, continued doing his own work. He put his pen down and he looked at me with a lot of concern, with a lot of compassion, with a lot of love and a lot of respect, and he said, "Son, you refused me today. Please refuse all for the rest of your life. It's not going to be easy, but you'll have to develop some qualities to be able to refuse. And the biggest quality that you can develop would be a very good domain knowledge and the ability to understand the why of everything. It is just because people don't understand the why that they have to be so subservient to us. It's because they don't know the why I can afford to be what I am. It's because they don't know the why they spoil me. You learn the why, understand it, and go out and teach those folks outside what the why is. We all must understand that because we don't know the why, it leads to us accepting a lot of nonsense, including insults, and leads to a lot of low esteem. We all have a number of interactions, and every interaction is a learning experience. Some teach us something, some affirm our thoughts, some confuse us, some tell us, "Please go ahead and do this." Some leave us with an impression, "I will never do this." But each and each of it leaves us with something. The only certainty in life is death. And with death, a lot of things come to an abrupt end. And it was this thought which has always disturbed me right from the time I was in school. So much intelligence, so much knowledge, so much experience picked up by a person, and in a moment it is all gone. You can't retrieve it, you can't ask, you can't do anything. Very few of us are blessed with the ability to write in an interesting manner. Few will seek that out, and whatever is left in you, you might be able to give it to them in a reactive manner. I started sharing whatever I learned with whoever listened to me. Whether he was a senior, he was a junior, he was a contemporary, or he was a competitor. It became very natural for me to tell a stranger, "Look, you don't do it like this. Try this out." It also made it easy for me to walk up to a stranger and ask him, "Can you tell me what you exactly did? Can you tell me what you thought about it?" And it was this sharing, this way of participating in other people's lives, in trying to make a difference to all of them, is what I also saw in Jasmine, and that is how we both decided to collaborate. We decided to work out and give to you what is it in common that the two of us did. And the first thing we shared with you is, what is your life purpose? The 5 fundamental steps that one needs to remember is, what is your life purpose? What is your expertise and interest? What are the benefits? What are the challenges? And what are the scope and the changes? The qualities that are needed over here are a conviction to follow your life purpose, a creativity in sharing your interest and expertise, compassion to create a beneficial legacy, courage, calmness to overcome all the challenges that are going to come, and a confidence and commitment to sustain the change.
So, while these steps are sequential, they are only indicative and not exhaustive. Answering the 5 questions associated with these steps can help you start creating your legacy. So, once your life purpose is clear, the next step is to determine your area of expertise or interest. And the reason why this is important is because the long-term sustainability of your legacy depends on it. Start by identifying your strengths. The most obvious place to look for is your career. Talk to your colleagues, friends, and family members for their insight. Also consider what topics or activities you are passionate about and that you find interesting. In short, your legacy should be a labor of love and creativity, not a chore. When I initiated my financial literacy drive, I drew heavily on my knowledge and experience of banking and finance and corporate training. For example, we use adult learning principles and gamification techniques to teach compound interest or digital banking through use of puppet shows, marble games, folklore, etc. in our makeshift classrooms.
I retained my interest in understanding the why of the domain that I am doing. I did look at the what, where, how, whom, when, all of that, but my interest remained in the why. And as I developed my interest in the why, I found that it was the differentiating factor. And then I decided that this is what I need to share. Logistics is not just about getting things from one place to another. It is much more. There are so many principles, there are rules, there are regulations, there are concepts, there are people, there is a society over there. And just as it happens in logistics, it happens everywhere else, that nobody wants to concentrate on the why of the whole thing. And this is where I felt was my calling. This is the place where I was interested in, and this is where I developed my expertise. So the second question that you ask yourself always is, what is your area of expertise and interest?
Legacy is about making a positive impact. Hence, it is important to know how it will influence life of others. In his famous book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, John Maxwell believes in a more lasting avenue of legacy, that is, people. Too often, leaders put their energy into organizations, buildings, systems, or other lifeless objects, says the leadership expert and best-selling author. But it is people who matter the most. Everything else is temporary. Our financial literacy activities benefit the low-income and undereducated people by making them knowledgeable about money matters so that they can manage their personal finances well, save for the rainy days, avail beneficial loan options, and protect themselves from exploitation. The idea is to help them live a respectable life driven by self-esteem rather than one of a continuous drudgery. I can very vividly remember how one of our camp participants, who used to do odd jobs for last 5 years, got the courage to take a loan of 25,000 rupees from a microfinance unit to start her own pickle-making business. Today, she is running her business successfully, paying her loan installments in time, and has already employed 3 more needy women into her business. And there are many such success stories.
I would like to share with you 2 of my experiences. A few years back, we were walking in a mall in Pune, and a very young kid of about 5 or 6 comes to me and says, "Uncle, wait." In a moment, I see a young couple coming, running towards me and touching my feet. And the boy says, "Sir, you may not remember me, but you taught me 9 years back in Ahmedabad. I had attended a session on logistics with you, and while everyone taught us the why and the what and the who, you concentrated on the why. You held on to the why. I did that. I learnt it from you. I picked it up, and today I am a branch manager in the world's largest multinational shipping company right here in Pune, and I'm earning 10 times of what I was earning 9 years back." I was vindicated. It happened 20 years after I started. The second experience which I've had is what happened to me in Tuticorin. There was this gentleman older than me. He comes to me and he says, "Sir, thank you. Sir, I have been working as a custom clerk for the last 28 to 30 years. For those of you who don't know, it means that the man is standing on his feet for 8 to 9 hours every day. He is walking 5 to 7 kilometers in trying to finish his job. He says, "Sir, I still do the same thing. But after listening to you and understanding the value of the why, I have changed in the way I am doing the work, which has changed the way people look at me, which has changed the way my family looks at me, which has changed the way at which I look at myself. Sir, thank you." Now that was gratitude. The love, the affection, the gratitude needs to be experienced when you are alive, and that pushes you ahead. There are so many such experiences that I can share with you. The most heartening is when a mother or a father comes and talks to you, because then you realize that that young boy or girl is going to take forward whatever you have shared with him. He's going to increase the area of the influence, and possibly it's going to get into a chain reaction. What do you share? Besides sharing your domain, besides sharing the principles of the domain, there are so many other things you can share. You can share all your experiences. You can talk about mannerisms, you can talk about clothing, you can talk about society issues, and most importantly, you can share your mistakes. The more you do it, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more you can share. Individual learnings are limited, but learnings from others increases the ambit. So this is how you decide how will your life purpose and expertise benefit others.
Challenges are a part of life as well as legacy. When I started sharing my idea within my circle of bankers, I got very mixed responses. One response was, "Wow, this is so interesting. I always wanted to do something like this, but never got the right platform. Let's get started." Another response was, "Are you crazy? I don't have time right now. Let's discuss this after 5 years." Another friend advised me, "Look, Jasmine, this is the time to make money. Just focus on that. All this we can do when we retire." So, while these were challenges at the time of starting up, there are many more challenges on the way that I can foresee with respect to funding or sustainability. The important thing is not to lose focus and face these challenges head-on, patiently and courageously.
Challenge also is the need to justify or prove. You don't need to prove anything. You're doing it because you want to do it. It is that conviction which will let you go on. And just as my colleague said, you are going to have to answer a lot of questions. You're going to have to answer questions from your family. You're going to have to answer questions from your friends, from society, from any and everybody. Just like her, the questions which really disturbed me were, why are you training competitors? Why are you creating competitors? Without understanding that it is not competition that I am creating. It's an industry for which I am working. I'm working for the general good. I'm using my intelligence, my learnings, my experience for common good, which is what I believe in. So, it was just my conviction which sustained my challenges. So, the next question, that is question number 4, which you will have to answer is, are you ready to overcome the challenges on the way?
Living your legacy is a continuous journey, hence change is inevitable. Socrates wrote, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." For example, I may start writing a blog for my members or publish books and distribute free of cost to the needy. Next, I may want to expand from financial literacy to skill building for making people job ready or business ready, thus contributing to their economic development. I should also be ready to discontinue those activities which may not be sustainable in the long run.
I'm reminded of that story where a dog barked his lungs out to save the family from a fire in the house. Each of them managed to save their lives, but the dog perished. And why did the dog perish? Because he was bound, because he was tied, because he was restricted. This is something which you are going to face all the time. You are going to become a victim of your learnings. You are going to get restricted. You are going to not be in a position to challenge the change that is coming in. You have to ensure that you do not become a victim of these restrictions, or you will perish as a dog. You have to recognize, you have to develop the ability to learn the past, to understand the present, and to visualize the future. Unless you can do all the three, your legacy is not going to remain where it is. You cannot waver. You may change. You may change what you are doing, but you cannot waver. Otherwise, you are not going to leave a good, positive, long-term legacy. You have to recognize that people with whom you are sharing everything may benefit much more from your teachings than you are benefiting from your learnings. You have to be prepared to lose. You have to be prepared to understand these dynamics. You cannot hold it on by saying that I have to remain on the top, because the purpose was different than being on the top. The purpose was to create a legacy. You have to be very careful. You have to be very honest to yourself. Despite all the changes that are going to come, and I have seen so many changes in 3.5 decades, you cannot change your core character. If you give up on your core character, you will have a fractured reputation. And somebody with a fractured reputation cannot leave a long-lasting positive legacy.
So to recap, the 5 fundamental steps to live your legacy are: first, find your life purpose. Second, determine your area of expertise or interest. Third, focus on benefits to other people. Fourth, be ready to overcome challenges on the way. And fifth, handle change as it comes. To conclude, legacy is our gift to the world. It is an act of gratitude. Irrespective of age, education, income, family background, or domain, you can create your own legacy. You did not sacrifice your career or business or family to live your legacy. If your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. Thank you.